And we call it, in this terminology, tawqifi. These umur, these matters are tawqifi. They are mawquf alayh, on the telling of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As he told, we accept it. No reason, no principle, no logic, no grammar. Now these ayat, you may note here, there are about 6,666. There is some difference in number. But round about 6,500 ayat of the Quran, whole. Now these ayat, second term is surah, and the plural is suwar. But this word is, because it's not commonly used, I'll be using the word surah and surahs during this translation, when translating into English. And what is surah? Surah is not a chapter. Please note, these terms are not applicable to the Quran. These terms which we use about the books generally, sentences, paragraphs, there are no paragraphs in the Quran. Then there are no chapters. This is not chapter. Because for every chapter of a book, there must be a certain topic, and that topic should be discussed in that chapter alone. It shouldn't be repeated in the second chapter, or again in the third chapter. But we find in the Quran that even the story of Adam and Iblis, it has been repeated in 7 surahs of the Quran. So actually it's a unique book. It's not the common book as we know the word book, human books. This is a unique book in itself, and it has its own compilation, its own style, its own terminology. So ayat, then the ayat are joined together in surahs. There are 114 surahs of the Quran. And these surahs, are very small also. 3 surahs are there who have only 3 ayat each. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Surah is complete. In the same way, إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ. Surah is complete. And on the other hand, we find Surah Al-Baqarah, 286 ayat. And among these 286 ayat, there are certain ayat which are so long that Ayatul Kursi is at least 3 times bigger than Suratul Asr. So actually these sizes are also dependent upon what the Prophet ﷺ told us. These are tawqifi umur, not based on any logic, not based on any principle. The only principle is that the Prophet told us this is Suratul Baqarah. Starts from here and here. This is Surah Al Imran. Starts from here and here. It is small or large, big or small. It has nothing to do with any number, any size, any principle of grammar. But as far as the contents are concerned, there are principles. Every surah has a central theme. And all the ayat of that surah, they are connected with that central theme logically. They are absolutely logical relationship. But not as we find in our chapters. It's complete in itself, self-sufficient in itself. Then one point please note, and that is, most of the surahs of the Quran are in pairs. Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Al Imran, a pair. In the same way, the Musaf ends with Mu'awwazatayn. Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq, Qul a'udhu bi rabbil nas. Very similar to each other. That's a pair. In the same way, وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى أَلَمْ نَشْرَحْ لَكَ صَدْرَكَ. The same thing being discussed in both these surahs. Addressing Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam personally. It's a pair. Very apparently a pair. In the same way, Ya ayyuhal muzammil, Ya ayyuhal muddassir, Ya ayyuhal muzammil, qum al-layla illa qalila, Ya ayyuhal muddassir, qum fa'anzir. It is again a pair. So most of the surahs of the Quran are in pairs. Although there are surahs which are not in pairs. They are unique. They are munfarid. And most of such surahs are very important. But actually we shall be referring to these things during our translation. That is why I want to acquaint you with these basic terminology. Now these surahs, the big surahs have been divided into rukus. This division was not present at the time of the Prophet or during the days of the Sahaba. It was done later on during the Umayyad period. and by a person which is not liked by many, and that is Hajjaj ibn Yusuf. He is the person who divided Quran, the bigger surahs of the Quran, into rukus. Why? Because you can't recite the whole of Surah Al-Baqarah in one rakat in the prayer. So there must be portions. So you can recite them in your prayers. So for that purpose, one ruku for every rakat. The root is the same. Rak'ah, ruku, rakat, and ruku. All these things what are? One rakat, you can recite one ruku. So that one subject is discussed in one ruku. So this was done later on, but it was not present in the days of the Prophet or of the companions, radiyallahu ta'ala anhum. In the same way, then the whole of the Quran was divided into 30 parts, which we call paras, and parts in Quran. This division also was done later on, and we don't know when it was done. But it definitely was not present in the days of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam or of the companions. This was to facilitate the Muslims so that every Muslim can read and recite one para, one part of the Quran every day, so that each month he completes one recitation of the whole of the Quran. But these two words, these two terms, rukus and paras or parts, they were introduced later on. They were not present during the days of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam or of the companions radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in. But then, another word which we find in ahadith, that is hizb. The surahs of the Quran, they were grouped in such a way that Quran was divided or divisible into 7 nearly equal parts, not exactly equal. Some hizb is more than 5 paras. First hizb is more than 5 paras. Some is less, because if you divide 30 parts and you divide into 7, so what will come? About 4.5 in each. But we have somewhere it is 4 1/4, somewhere it is about 4, somewhere it is more than 5, as I've told you. But the beauty is, and this word was present during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, hizb, because people who had more love for Quran, they used to complete the recitation of the Quran in every week. So they had to divide Quran in 7 parts, so that they can complete the recitation of the Quran in 1 week, 7 days. So we find the beauty is that the surahs are complete. They are not broken in this division into ahzab or manzil, as we call it in Urdu generally, manzil. And the ahzab, this is the Arabic word mostly used. We have 3 surahs in the first.